the first BJP government takes over in the state, assuring the centre's full support to the state and also advocating corporate federalism and assuring that the government is going to work for each and everyone in Tripura. With that, let's take you through the big headlines of this hour. Supreme Court recognizes a person's right to die with dignity, allows a living will for passive euthanasia for terminally ill patients, lays down guidelines to be followed till the legislation on the issue is brought about. No end to disruptions in both houses as first week of second part of the budget session draws to a close. Rajya Sabha chairman acts on suggestion to appoint woman member to the panel of vice chairman, nominates Kaikasha Parveen. Tripura gets its first BJP chief minister. Biplab Kumar Dev takes oath at the ceremony in Agartala. 2 IPFT MLAs get cabinet berth. Prime Minister Modi and Amit Shah attend the swearing-in ceremony. French President Emmanuel Macron to arrive on the first-ever visit to India tonight. Cooperation in Indo-Pacific region, defence and climate change, key agenda during his meeting with Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Saturday. And after months of hostility, US President Donald Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un to meet. South Korean official announces this at the White House and saying that the meeting will take place by May. Our top story this hour, the Supreme Court has delivered a landmark judgment. It has recognized a person's right to die with dignity. Today, the court allowed the living will, which allows a person to opt for passive euthanasia in the event of irreversible serious illness. The verdict has been passed by the 5-judge Constitution Bench of the Apex Court. The Apex Court also laid down guidelines as to who would execute the will. Also, guidelines on how the nod for passive euthanasia would be granted by the medical board has been laid down by the court. The court said that the living will for terminally ill patients could be issued and executed by the next friend or relatives of such persons, after which a medical board could consider it. The court said that its directions and guidelines will remain in force till a legislation is brought on the issue. The court's verdict has come on a PIL filed by the NGO Common Cause. The PIL had said that safeguards were needed while taking a decision by medical boards to withdraw life support of a terminally ill patient. In 2011, the Apex Court had recognized passive euthanasia in the Aruna Shanbag case. It had permitted withdrawal of life-sustaining treatment from patients not in a position to make an informed decision. In 2016, the centre had said that according to the Law Commission's 241st report, passive euthanasia should be allowed with certain safeguards. The centre also said that there was also a proposed law, Medical Treatment of Terminally Ill Patient, Protection of Patients and Medical Practitioners Bill 2006 in this regard.
हर नागरिक को ये इस तरह का फैसला लेने का पूरा अधिकार है कि अगर उसकी जिंदगी ऐसे मुकाम पर पहुंच गई है जहां पर उसकी जिंदगी सिर्फ आर्टिफिशियल लाइफ सपोर्ट सिस्टम या वेंटिलेटर से ही आगे बढ़ाई जा सके और अगर वो ये नहीं चाहता तो वो ये फैसला लेने के लिए स्वतंत्र है और वो फैसला सबको मानना पड़ेगा.
Our senior assistant editor Amritan Shirai is joining us from the newsroom for more on this story. Amritan, a very good afternoon. It was in May 11, 2005 that this NGO Common Cause, their PIL was taken notice by the Supreme Court, and since then it's been a long journey, a big fight of course for them, and today we are seeing this landmark judgment, but at the moment the guidelines are still a bit unclear. If you could shed some light on that.
So there was a guideline earlier by an earlier 3-judge bench of the Supreme Court which actually elaborated the guidelines that the High Court will have, the petition will have to be made to the High Court of that state, and the High Court will then nominate 2 judges who would then go into the petition and see whether it is required or not. And then the High Court 2 judges bench would nominate a medical board comprising of 3 doctors who would then recommend and go into the veracity of the petition. And once that process was over, then and if the assent of the medical board was given, based on that, the Supreme Court had gone into the legal aspect of it, then passive euthanasia could be followed through with. So passive euthanasia, Tracy, I would also like you to understand what euthanasia is, the meaning is. So the meaning is the painless killing of a patient suffering from an incurable and painful disease or in an irreversible coma. So if you, the moment you add passive to it, which means all such support systems which go on to keep the life going on, that will be withdrawn. So it is completely different. So it is like removal of the support system, the medical support system. Yeah, Tracy.
Absolutely. And when we look at the guidelines, of course, that the Supreme Court has come out with a detailed report on that is something that we'll perhaps see in a few hours from now. But at least initially what it says is that, this is a living will that will be made by a person in his normal state of mind seeking voluntary euthanasia. So if we look at all this, it's been very careful. And it's also talking about a medical board that would be constituted to look into, of course, this kind of a will. So in all cases, whether it's, a court involved, whether it's a medical board involved, and at the same time, also the will of the family, everything has been taken into account. And it does seem like it's a measured judgment, and more or less, it has been taken in a positive stance from a lot of people.
Absolutely, Tracy. So if we look at the entire chronology, this whole matter has been under debate for the last 15-20 years in this country, and it was initiated quite early on. So work has progressed. The parameters are now out, and today's guideline, what the Supreme Court, whatever little that we've been able to pick up, includes that the medical board's assent to the petition is a must, and that will determine whether passive euthanasia or depriving someone of life in a dignified manner is to be allowed or not. So that's going to be crucial. Also, the definition of the family has been expanded to include not only the near and dear ones, which is the family members or the spouse or the husband, but also in absence of the earlier criteria, the friends, the larger friend circle, or a group of people. So all of them put together, assisted with the medical team, will be able to go and be able to do it. The living will is an essential component that they have brought in, and they have acknowledged, allowed and recognized the legal entity of a living will.
Absolutely.
So this living will eases out the process. So this is a will that is given out by the patient himself, who suspects that he may get into a situation which would be a terminally ill situation.
Absolutely.
And he may get into a situation where passive euthanasia may be required by him. That's the will that he gives well in advance and is executed then by the friend, family, and so on.
Absolutely. All right, we'll leave it there at the moment. Thank you so much, Amritan Shirai, for joining us on this very big story. We'll keep coming back to you, of course, for more updates on this. Meanwhile, let's head on to the proceedings that took place in Rajya Sabha a day after a request was made by a woman member of Rajya Sabha to have a female member on the panel of vice chairman. The chairman himself announced at the beginning of the day's proceedings today the decision to nominate JDU member Kehkashan Parveen to the panel.
Honorable members, I have an announcement to make from the chair. In deference to the wishes of the members expressed yesterday on the occasion of International Women's Day to nominate a woman member to the panel of Vice Chairman, I have decided to nominate Srimati Kehkashan Parveen to the panel of Vice Chairman with effect from 3rd April 2018. In this session itself, in the place of Sri Basavaraj Patil, whose term of office of Rajya Sabha is expiring on 2nd of April 2018. She was mayor also. She was also chairman of the Mahila Ayog of the state of Bihar, and also social worker. She worked in 20-point program also. She has enough knowledge.
And soon after the chairman announced 0 hour in the House, MPs from several parties trooped into the floor of the House over multiple issues. The chairman appealed to them to not allow wastage of precious parliamentary hours. He then adjourned the House till 2:30 p.m.
0 hour. Sri Swet Malik. 1 week has gone, honorable members. 1 week has gone waste. This is no good. This is no good. This is bad. The House is adjourned to meet at 2:30 p.m.
Well, to discuss more on this story, we've got Panchanan Mishra joining us now from Parliament House. Panchanan, if we just quoting, in fact, the chairman himself, 1 week has been lost, 1 week has been wasted. Let's get back to work is, of course, the appeal by the chairman himself. But how does it look like when the House resumes at 2:30? Do we see any kind of business being taking place?
Yeah, Tracy, absolutely. The 1 week has been lost. Today is Friday. It's a private member day at 2:30. We have to see what will go on. But the situation is at present is looking like that. It's very looking difficult to any solution looking like today itself. Because opposition, especially the Congress, is raising the issue of PNB scam, and regularly it's demanding reply from Prime Minister, and also it demanded the discussion under 168 rule in the Rajya Sabha, which has a provision of voting at last. So, but there is no. You may say that many parties are raising different issues also, and like AIDMK, DMK are raising the issue of Kaveri water, and they are demanding to organize the Kaveri Management Board. And also the issue raised by the Andhra Pradesh MP from TDP and Congress, YSR Congress are raising issue of special packages to Andhra Pradesh. So these are the various issues where around 1 week has been lost, and it's the last day of this week. And we have to see that from after 2:30, when there will be private resolution day will be taken or not, because the situation is not looking like this. But the chairman has expressed his concern that 1 week is lost, and every parliamentarian should look into this, and it's a serious issue also. So we have to see that from next week how it will turn. Their government is trying also to talk to the opposition on the various issues, and we have to see that what will the further course of action of the opposition.
Absolutely. We leave it there for the moment. Panchanan, thank you so much for joining us on this story. Let's remind our voters, our viewers, that this is in fact the second half of the budget session, and now the Parliament, of course, has just about 2 weeks to go for, of course, all the other business that has been slated since the 5th of March. We'll keep a track of developments there. Meanwhile, the first BJP Chief Minister of Tripura has been sworn in. Biplab Kumar Deb took oath at a ceremony in Agartala a short while back. Jishnu Kumar Deb Burma, a prominent BJP tribal leader and member of Tripura's erstwhile royal family, also took oath as the Deputy Chief Minister of the state. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, BJP President Amit Shah, Rajnath Singh and Chief Ministers of the BJP-ruled states in the northeastern region attended the swearing-in ceremony. The BJP and IPFT combined had swept Tupa in the state, winning 43 out of the 59 seats for which elections were held. BJP won 35 and IPFT 8 seats.
শপথ করিতেছি যে আইনত প্রতিষ্ঠিত ভারতীয় সংবিধানের প্রতি দৃঢ় বিশ্বাস ও আনুগত্য রক্ষা করিব। আমি ভারতের অখণ্ডতা রক্ষা করিব। আমি ত্রিপুরা রাজ্যের মুখ্যমন্ত্রী হিসাবে আমার কর্তব্য বিশ্বস্তভাবে ও বিবেক পরায়ণতার সহিত সম্পন্ন করিব এবং ভারতীয় সংবিধানের অনুযায়ী ভয় অনুগ্রহ প্রতি বা বিদ্বেষমুক্ত থাকিয়া সর্বশ্রেণীর লোকের প্রতি ন্যায় আচরণ করিব।
I, Sri Vishnu Dev Burma, do swear in the name of God that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of India as by laws established, that I will uphold the sovereignty and integrity of India, that I will faithfully and conscientiously discharge my duties as Deputy Chief Minister of the state of Tripura, and that I will do right to all manner of people in accordance with the Constitution and the law without fear or favor, affection or ill will.
With a quick break here, we'll be back with more national news in a bit. Stay with us.
IIT name itself has justified its worth. It has served the nation in a very, very dedicated way. and very efficiently. The industries have to be a little more forthcoming. They have to come forward. They have to invest. Otherwise, commercialization is not possible. You really need commercial investment to see a product successfully doing business.
Watch Eureka with Professor Gautam Biswas, Director IIT Guwahati, only on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. A three-day meeting of the RSS's highest decision-making body, Akhil Bharatiya Pratinidhi Sabha, is on in Nagpur to chalk out organizational agenda and course of action for the next 3 years. Around 1,500 important office bearers of RSS and 35 affiliated organizations from 95% of the districts of the country, including 25 women, are participating in the meeting in various sessions. The organization will elect its next General Secretary during the three-day meet and will also deliberate on various issues of national importance and pass resolutions. One of the resolutions to be passed is the preservation of the vernacular languages and dialects. BJP President Amit Shah, General Secretary Ram Madhav and other senior party leaders are expected to attend the meeting. The meeting assumes significance as it is held every 3 years, and this will be the last annual meeting before the 2019 general election.
स्थान पर बोलियां हैं, बोलियों में भी बहुत साहित्य है, कविता है, भजन है, कीर्तन है, लोक गाथाएं हैं, उनको संभाल करके रखना, नहीं तो नष्ट हो जाएंगी। सारी दुनिया में बोलियां निरंतर समाप्त हो रही है और ये यूएनओ में भी एक संकट है, लोगों की परंपरा समाप्त हो जाएगी। इसलिए बोलियों को भी किसी प्रकार से सुरक्षित रखना और भाषाओं को भी समृद्ध बनाए रखना।
So this is a story that we are going to be tracking with our correspondent Kriti Mishra, who will be joining us in a short while from Nagpur. Meanwhile, let's tell you that at the moment the buzz, of course, is of whether we're going to be seeing a General Secretary who is going to be changed, and is that going to happen, of course. What we do know is that BJP President Amit Shah and a few other BJP leaders also would be attending this meeting, and this is going to go on for the next 3 days. And there will be various sessions where, of course, different topics would be discussed and would be deliberated upon. And like we said, restoration of vernacular languages and dialects is, of course, one of the main agenda in the meeting. Kriti Mishra, in fact, joining us now from Nagpur. Kriti, what is it that we are going to be, tracking most importantly at this particular meeting? As far as the choosing of the General Secretary goes, is that something that's going to happen?
Well, Tracy, the crucial meet of the highest decision-making body of the RSS, the Akhil Bharatiya Pratinidhi Sabha, is underway right now. And of course, today the annual report will be presented by the General Secretary, where he'll be telling about the achievements of the RSS in the year 2017-18. It also talks about the national scenario, about the strife, about the social sentiments, and also about the divisive forces. And it calls for unity. It calls for celebrating unity in diversity for ultimate aim of nation building. Yes, of course, the agenda is also to elect the General Secretary. That happens in every 3 years. So there is speculation that there could be a change, while there are others who are saying that the incumbent might continue. But remember, Tracy, the entire election process is extremely democratic. So the election process in the RSS that entails the resignation of the incumbent General Secretary. Thereafter, an election in charge is also appointed, who also calls for nominations from the delegates. And that delegate, or even a nomination, is also endorsed by 3 more members. So the entire procedure is extremely democratic. So it remains to be seen what happens in the next 2 days. Over to you, Tracy.
And this is, of course, going to be, the last such meeting before the 2019 general election. So how important is that going to be?
Well, extremely important, Tracy, because the BJP, which is also considered the affiliate of the RSS, has expanded the footprint throughout the country. And of course, we've seen how the juggernaut rolled in the northeast. So certainly all eyes are on this crucial meeting, because we are heading into election year. And as and when the development happens, it would be closely tracked, because as and when we are heading into the election year, this development becomes extremely crucial. Tracy?
All right, we'll leave it there for now. We'll come back to you later for more updates. Thank you, Kriti, so much for joining us on this story. UPA chairperson Sonia Gandhi has said that the Congress party will be open to accept a non-Gandhi as Congress president in the future. Speaking at an event organized by a private news channel for the first time after relinquishing the post of Congress president, Sonia Gandhi spoke on a wide range of topics, including Rahul Gandhi, her own shortcomings, and the role of democracy in India. Sonia Gandhi said that the Congress also needs to develop a new style of connecting with people at the organizational level.
Congress party survive without the Gandhis? Will there be is there a chance of any other leader being there?
Why not? In future, they may well be.
All right, so that is, of course, an important statement that came in from Sonia Gandhi, saying that you never know, there could be, of course, at the helm of things, a non-Gandhi for the Congress party. We'll wait and see, of course, of how other parties react to that. Meanwhile, in other news, President Ram Nath Kovind today accepted the resignations of Telugu Desam Party MPs Ashok Gajapati Raju and YS Chaudhary. The two ministers had submitted their resignations from the Union Cabinet to the Prime Minister on Thursday. That was after Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu announced his party's ministers will pull out of the NDA government. This despite Prime Minister Modi speaking to Chandrababu Naidu, who explained his party's compulsions to the Prime Minister. French President Emmanuel Macron will arrive in Delhi tonight on his first visit to India. Both countries will deepen strategic and trade ties, and further talks on peace and security in the Indo-Pacific region are expected to happen. During this 4-day visit, Macron will also be visiting Agra and Varanasi. Akhilesh Suman reports. On his first ever visit to India, French President Emmanuel Macron will hold a summit meeting with Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Saturday. Evolving a common strategy for cooperation in the Indo-Pacific region will be a key agenda for the meeting. France has naval bases in Abu Dhabi and Djibouti in this region that may also be used by India.
France is the only European country that has its own presence in the Indian Ocean. So while on the European level, the European Union is also interested in the Indian Ocean, especially under security point of view, France is an important player there for India. So I think this is also something that both countries are looking into.
President Macron will be accompanied by his wife, Brigitte Macron, and CEOs of almost 50 French companies. Since defense is one of the major components of the relationship between the two countries, defense production giants are also part of the business delegation.
There's also a strong aspect of defense cooperation. You know that that there has been an agreement on the sale of the 36 Rafale aircrafts. There is also a deal about the submarines, the Scorpion submarines. So this partnership in defense cooperation is going very strong, and there are many new areas of interest as well.
India and France are also willing to deeply collaborate in mitigating climate change and environment protection. Both Prime Minister Narendra Modi and French President Emmanuel Macron will jointly inaugurate the first conference of the International Solar Alliance in Delhi on Sunday. Both leaders will also inaugurate a solar power station in Mirzapur. India and France have a total trade of $11 billion. Over 1,000 companies in India and 120 Indian companies in France have a combined investment of $1 billion.
Though France till now is interested in bilateral defense cooperation with India, but if situations arise, it may also join Quad of India, Japan, Australia and USA, because France and India both share the same concern about Indo-Pacific region, that it is going to be vulnerable because of monopolistic and hegemonistic attitude of China. It will be interesting to see that how India and France grow together on these lines. Akhilesh Suman for Rajya Television with camera person Saroj in Delhi.
And a quick look at the top international story. US President Donald Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un will meet by May. The confirmation came from South Korea's National Security Office head, who briefed the White House officials on the recent talks between Seoul and Pyongyang. Chung Eui-yong had headed the delegation to North Korea. However, confirmation is yet to come from both the US and North Korean administrations. And that's it on the Midday News. Thank you for joining us.